for a rose to survive.
To maintain the moisture in that soil.
Maintain the moisture, and of course, it's going to keep the weeds down. Right. Now, except for the rugosa and the native types, roses are pretty heavy feeders. I mean, they need
those extra nutrients.
Yeah, they're putting a lot into those flowers, and they're proud, and they need to stay healthy, and they want to be admired.
They need that coffee.
They do.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we've got a very good. I mean, there's a lot of rose fertilizers out there, but Rose Tone by Spelma is by far, in my mind, the best. Yeah. It's as close to organic as you're going to get. I think they label it organic. It's time released naturally, so you don't have to worry about putting too much in to kill the plant. No, you don't. Just you can put some. Generally speaking, I don't like to fertilize when I plant, but you can definitely, before you mulch, top dress the soil with a handful or two of this, and then every few months maybe put down some more. Okay. Through June. So if you're going to plant now, you put some on the top, and then in another month you put some down just before it flowers to give it a little extra kick.
A little kick to get going.
Yeah.
Nice.
And now pruning of roses. That's the nice thing about modern roses. They made it so easy. The shrub roses, the rebloomers. Let's take those for an example.
Yeah.
You can what's called deadheading. It's like your perennials. You just take your shears, your hand shears, not your electric shears. You just throw those away, okay? Because you shouldn't use those. You need a pair of sharp hand shears, like a big scissors.
Yeah.
And then just cut a shape around the top, or as we say in the business, a nursery cut, which is boom right across the top. And they'll come up. They'll come up again, and they'll rebloom. Or you can take off the flowers as they come, depending on how much time you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, you don't necessarily or want to prune rugosa roses unless at the end of the year, because the rosa rugosas and the native roses can get fairly big. They can outgrow the space that you intended them to be. So you can cut them in half in the fall.
Gotcha.
And then after winter, they're tough enough to do that. Regular roses, tea roses, and climbers you just want to train. Multiflora roses are going to grow like the dickens anyway. Generally speaking, cut the rose down a little bit in the fall.
Yep. And
then now, in early spring, when you can see the buds, is when you want to take them down to about a foot, if you really.
Okay.
And when you do prune them, when you take each individual cane down, you want to make sure that the last bud on that cane faces outward. The reason being is if it faces inward, and enough of them face inward, the canes from those buds are going to grow into the plant.
And by the cane, we're talking about more of the solid stems coming out of the base of the
rose.
stems,
whether they be the canes definitely are the thicker ones, the old ones, but the smaller ones will become those thicker ones. Yep. So if they grow inward, it's going to form a very dense bush, and that's what you don't want, because you're going to get black spot, and you want good airflow through the rose.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So that's kind of important with roses.
Yeah. So, and then doing that, I mean, I always picture, you're looking at the rose, looking at where those new leaves are coming off of, and you just imagine that whatever side that leaf is on, that's going to form out its own branch, and you want and it's going to form from the top of the cane or the stem, wherever you cut it. So that last one you leave there, you want pointing outwards.
Right.
Got it.
My roses right now are about 1.5 feet tall.
Okay.
And they will grow to be 3 to 4 feet tall.
Within the same year?
This year, yes.
Wow.
So you can count on about 1.5 feet, at least 2 feet of growth on an English rose or a tea rose, and far less than that on a shrub rose.
Okay.
Depending on the variety. The modern shrub roses, so-easies, and the knockouts. No, just inches, really. Inches to a foot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with fertilization, the old adage, when you plant the rose, you plant it like just about anything else. I think in a previous podcast, we talked about what to do with planting shrubs.
Yes.
Well, it's the same thing. Hey, rose is a shrub. Okay, you take the rose is in a pot, and you dig a hole that's twice as wide.
Yeah.
And put the rose in up to where it was planted in the pot, and then take in the soil. You may want to mix in some compost. That's very nice because that interface between the pot soil and your soil is quite different in most cases. So you want that interface of mixed compost and soil to be flaky and soft for the most part, just so those roots will grow out from the can.
Yeah, we like to use that, especially we look for compost that has some peat in it too, to help with that structure. If you have a clay soil or a sandy soil, and loosen up a clay soil, just to allow that water and drainage to happen, because it needs to be moist, but it can't be sitting in water, right?
Now, it can be. Roses need to have like a little bit of alkaline soil. They don't like to be too acid, and peat moss. Too much peat moss can make it acidic.
Okay. So a little garden lime or something?
No, I would use vermiculite if you have it, or sand.
Okay.
That's the cheap way out. It's very heavy, of course. And it'll also give you lots of drainage. Vermiculite is good. Or, the old adage was, when you planted a rose, the first thing you threw in the hole was, did I tell you this? Do you remember what they were?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay, you're going to remember it from now on.
I think, yeah. I'm guessing one, but...
A dead fish.
Yeah.
Okay, that's for the nutrition. Dead fish has everything you need in it. Some wallboard, because of the calcium sulfate in the wallboard, okay? And a handful of rusty nails because of the iron. And that was the standard regime. And you could do that today, just to keep the tradition up. I mean, you can tell your grandchildren.
Sounds a little on the pollutant side, but...
What? Dead fish.
Wallboard.
You whippersnappers. Well, it's going back to, if it wasn't made in China, you're probably okay.
You're probably all right.
But you could do the same with Espoma will do it all for you. The rose tone is balanced, so you don't have to worry about it.
And the great part is that slow release.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll feed for a long time, and also won't be too much for the plant all at once.
Yep.
Cool. So what about, we always hear about the pests and diseases with roses.
Right.
So how do we manage that? And kind of what's your approach of how we should think about it, or what to look for?
If you buy an old-fashioned tea rose, you deserve every disease and critter you get.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna go there because it's just overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. Okay?
Yeah. That's why the Elizabeth Park people are the pros.
Right. So, and the reason why you don't use conventional rose food is because if you make that rose tissue in any plant, if you make the tissue too soft and juicy, it's like, do you want a tough old steak, or do you want a filet mignon that's so nice and juicy? You want the filet mignon, and that really attracts the aphids especially. Yeah. And the last thing, the most horrendous, ugliest thing is a rosebud that is filled with aphids on it, even before it opens. They're sucking the juices right out of that, and it's so succulent that they're just going to thank. The aphids will thank you. So stay away from that. Rose slugs, I'm just going to go with what I have in my problems that I've had, the very common problems.
Yep.
Okay. Rose slugs, and these will put holes. They're called rose slugs, but they're not related to the slugs. They're related to the oriental beetles. You remember we used to have a lot of problem with Japanese beetles?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we got a Japanese beetle that was kind of mottled and a little bit small. Well, that's because we went to using a lot of mulches, and that's their habitat. They like the mulches. So, of course, you're going to mulch every rose, right? So you tend to get holes from these rose slugs, which are about 1/4 of an inch, and they look like a slug, but they're actually the larvae of the rose chafer. That's called the rose chafer. And Well, you can easily get and then the other is black spot, which is a yellowing of the leaf, and then you see an irregular black blotch on the leaves. And most of the time, you'll see them on the inner part of the plant because not enough air movement, right?
Airflow,
yeah,
too much
and
humidity in
fungi
the plant.
love moist areas. Okay, even though the rose is in the sun. Well, there are two products out there that I use all the time, and the arsenal. Thank God, the arsenal of pesticides that are poisonous, quite frankly, very poisonous to us, is going away, and that was some of the stuff. Lead arsenic and stuff like that was really around the turn of the century, 1900s to the 1940s, was standard operating procedure. Yeah, it was really, really scary.
Yeah.
But now we have both of these products are available from Bonide, and then the neem oil can be purchased other than Bonide's brand. But Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, that's a Bonide product.
Yeah.
And anything that eats a leaf, like a chafer, will eat it and be gone. Actually, it paralyzes them, and you'll see them on the leaf, and you'll say, this stuff doesn't work, and touch them, and it'll fall right off.
Yeah, and then just the bacteria that's in the Dead Bug Brew.
Actually, it's the bacteria's byproducts.
Oh.
Yeah. The story behind the Captain Jack's is that this entomologist went down to Puerto Rico and visited a rum factory. And, of course, they make rum out of sugar cane. So the sugar cane, after they squeeze it out, they take the pulp and they pile it into big piles out and back. And, this is sugar. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had raw sugar cane. It's very sweet. It's just great to chew on,
Okay.
But there should have been a lot of flies and insects and whatever, and there wasn't.
Yeah.
And he wondered why. So he took a sample of it, and he found out that there was a bacteria that grew in there. The byproduct was paralyzed insects, and voila, Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew, or Spinney's Head is the actual name of the product. Spinney's Head became real, and it's wonderful.
So we have a natural insecticide.
Oh, yes, it is.
That way, safe to use around our vegetables and roses.
Oh, yeah. You can, spray it under your arms if you want.
Oh, boy.
Keep the bugs away. Anyway. And then neem oil. Neem oil comes from a tree that grows in the tropics, India in particular.
Yeah. And
that's good, both an insecticide and a fungicide. So that works on the black spot very well. It also works on mildew, powdery mildew. It's the only thing I know of that will actually kill powdery mildew on other plants. And then roses get powdery mildew too if they get too wet.
Yeah, and they're both contact type insecticides.
Oh yeah,
and
you got
it.
Yeah, and with the Dead Bug Brew, it's better if they eat the leaf. They actually do some munching on it.
Yeah. So I think with that. Although you want something that's maintenance free, just frequent checking,
Oh, definitely. We still go out with the wine or the coffee.
With the wine and the coffee.
Yeah.
After you check your potatoes
that's right.
that you've been growing. That you go over, look at your roses and your more delicate plants and shrubs and see what's going on. Look for these, the insects or the fungus, and then you'd apply after that, and then continuously apply until you see the issue go away.
Yeah, or between rainstorms, definitely with these two products.
Yeah. Because recently we had the new legislation in Connecticut, Maryland, and New York that got rid of most of the products that were used for. They were mostly systemic controls for disease and fungus in for roses. And those were neonicotinoids.
Neonicotinoids, right?
Okay, neonicotinoids.
Or neonics. That's what we call neonics.
Yeah, and basically what that name means, which is probably a sentence is easier to pronounce the word, or neonics. It's a new nicotine-like insecticide.
Right.
And that's what it was designed to do. So basically we were just giving these bugs a bunch of cigarettes all at once. And
well, nicotine's been around for a long time, but it was very caustic too.
Yeah.
You know, so and it was a little bit dangerous. You know, if you smoke one cigarette, you're going to die in 50 years. If you